So yeah, guys, I actually did a whole live for 20, 30 minutes talking about this topic, and apparently I was having audio issues, so it actually never even got recorded. So we back again to run it back. Definitely wanted to talk about this. So yeah, I know a lot of people check out this channel for mostly anime talk, but anime, gaming, entertainment. We're gonna talk a little bit of basketball, a little bit of hip hop today, especially because Drake's album is trending right now. So I definitely wanted to talk about this while it's still hot because it was a conversation I was having with my brother. And yeah, it just came up that talking about Drake's longevity, and I was saying how he's basically the LeBron of rap. And in that same conversation, I ended up talking about how I think basically if I'm comparing if I'm comparing Drake to LeBron, then I would probably say that Jay Z is Jordan. And these are just my comparisons, of course. These are just the thoughts that we were having at the time. And as far as like for a long period of time, I pretty much regarded Jay Z as the greatest of all time as far as like rap goes. Like there was a period of time where I did think it was Biggie. A lot of people would debate Biggie and Tupac, especially when Jay Z was still coming out. But looking back and comparing catalogs and things of that nature, as great as those guys were, Tupac and Biggie, I can't put them in the same categories as Drake, as Jay Z, as Kanye, as some of these other artists that have such diverse and such long catalogs because they've been doing it for so long. So greatness there's definitely a level of longevity when it comes to greatest. So that's why we're here. We're talking about GOAT talk. We're talking about the GOATs. We're talking about Drake and the comparison. The main topic is going to be the Drake and LeBron comparison, but I also have a few other comparisons, and that's where I'm just kind of spitballing and telling you guys how this conversation even got sparked, because it was something that started with my brother, and then it continued when I was talking to my boy Chris. Because before I called him to tell him, because we were going to talk about the album, I was like, I know I got to also think about Ye, because I know Kanye to him is like the greatest artist. And I would say you could definitely argue Kanye is probably one of the greatest artists of all time. Rapper is a different category than artist. So like artist is a much broader range. So that's like when we're talking about Michael Jackson, we're talking about pop artists as well. We're also talking about like production, because Kanye is also a producer. So there's like a whole rabbit hole we could go down with the greatest artists. And but we're not doing that today. We're just talking about rap. We're just talking about the comparison of rappers and hoopers, because those are two things that I love, and it dominates our culture so much. So those are things that this barbershop talk. These are the things that we talk about. We go back and forth about who are the GOATs, who are the greatest in their categories, and whatever it is that we're talking about. The basketball thing. A lot of people say LeBron is the GOAT. To me, Jordan is still the GOAT. But yeah, we're not here to debate who's 1, 2, or 3. We're just here to make the comparison. So that's why I was saying LeBron, Drake, both can be comparable because, first of all, the longevity. That's like number one for both of them. They both have been at the top for so long. That was something that was reserved before. I would have said only for Jay-Z, and he literally said it. And what more can I say? Never been a nigga this good for this long, right? He's been at the top for the longest, because every time he was dropping an album, almost every year, that's something that hip hop fans were always anticipating. So to start off with the Drake LeBron comparisons, and then I'm gonna go into the Jordan Jay-Z comparisons, and then I'm gonna go into a little bit of the Ye and Kobe comparisons, and then I have a bonus one that I came up with that I didn't tell my brother and Chris about, and then we could chime in on a few other honorable mentions. But yeah, so the current, we're gonna go with Drake and LeBron, and we could talk about how Drake's run has been unprecedented, because he pretty much lasted through most hip hop eras in the last, let's say, almost like 15 or a little over 15 years now, almost going on to almost like 16, 17 years, because he officially, like, he was, as far as like his mixtapes, early stuff was like in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, 2005, 2006, around 2007. He wasn't really known yet at that time, as far as I know, commercially. It wasn't until I think 08, 09, around 09, I think, when So Far Gone came out, when he was like touring with Lil Wayne, that he like really started to blow up. And people were starting to hear him. But around that time, there were so many artists that were just coming out, and were just like hearing not really lasting, Drake was one of the ones because he actually lasted. Because I remember at that time, so it was a mixtape era. You had the blogs, we had the CD eras. That's where music lived for the most part. That was before it really started to get like iTunes was just about to like really just coming out because we had iPods coming out and iTunes were just making a wave, and that's what kind of pushed the streaming era. And then years later we had Spotify, and then now in this era we got shorts and this and that as far as social media and everything. And throughout the whole time, Drake has had number one hits, features. You got song. He's been in almost every lane: hip hop, R&B, pop. Your favorite artist has probably done a collaboration with Drake at some point in time. You had artists that came out with songs that nobody knew who the artist was, but we knew Drake was on the song, so we wanted to hear the song. So like I was given an example. Look Alive. I think the guy's name was JB Block, something like that. But at the time, I always just thought that was Drake's song until I actually looked it up and I saw, I'm like, oh, this is JB Block or whatever the guy's name is. Excuse me if you guys are a fan of him and I'm messing up his name. But whatever his name was, the Look Alive song started off with Drake's verse, then it was Drake on the hook. And I pretty much wasn't really listening much after that. It was playing in the background, but that was just one example. There's so many of them that I could probably give. He's done songs with, obviously, multiple hits with Rihanna. He's done multiple hits with Nicki Minaj, obviously Lil Wayne, all of Young Money at that in the early days. And then like later on when other artists, he put Kendrick on the map. We're not going to get into the Kendrick beef though. He put so many other, there's a lot of artists that, it was funny. I actually could start naming the people that he beefed with, but because he put them all on. It was the Weeknd, Rick Ross. Come on. That was the 2015, 2014 time era. That was an era of music that was like really solidified by Drake. And then even in the early 2020s. So yeah, Drake continues to just dominate. And after this three albums he just dropped, it's just the run is going to continue. Because I know he's not done. Now he's free. He's going to be free. He's working on getting free from the label. Another discussion as well. We're just making the comparisons here. Yeah, LeBron. What can I say? LeBron's been doing everything. LeBron is the passer. He's the point forward. He's the shoot. He eventually developed the shot. He wasn't like Steph Curry with the shot, but he could make shots. He could defend. He could play center. He could pretty much do everything. Blocked by James continues to haunt me because of the 2016 NBA Finals that I was like really gunning for my boy Steph Curry to win another one. And if they won that year, Kevin Durant probably never goes to the Warriors. Another discussion. That's another discussion as well. But yeah, he defends. He does everything at a high level. Two-way player. He's won multiple accolades. He has like all the numbers as far as most points scored, games played, all these different things, multiple titles with multiple teams. He has a very well-rounded resume. As far as eras, we could also say he played in the 2000s, the physical era, the slow ball, when he was carrying that team that nobody even knew half the players, Varejao and Gauskas and Mo Williams, Boobie Gibson, those guys, and they had to go through the East, and they had battles with the Wizards, battles with the, you know what I mean, the Pistons, and all them boys back in the day that was giving trouble in the East. But then they made it to the finals, which was crazy with that scrub team. But yeah, he was doing it all during that time. And then during the 2010s, the game started to change a little bit. You know what I mean? You had super teams, so they had to fight Boston with the big three. They had to, you know what I mean? Come on. Spurs with their big three. That's who they eventually had to beat to get their title. So they beat the Spurs, they beat the Thunder, the Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, which each of them became megastars in their own right. So you had that era, and then you had the 2020. You had, even before, leading into that, Steph Curry changing the game, and everybody wanted to shoot threes and all that stuff. So you had that era. LeBron still continued. You go into the 2020s, he wins a championship in the bubble. He hasn't won since, but he's still fighting, and he's still competing, and he's still breaking records. So, yeah, I'm still of the Jordan GOAT mindset. Don't get it twisted, but there's definitely a lot of conversations, and I can't be mad at you if you say LeBron is the GOAT. But we're not going to skip over Kobe being Bryant. So I have and like I was saying, Kanye was my comparison. And Kanye was, you can argue Kanye could be like the Jordan because of the peak influence that he had was like Jordan's peak. When Jordan's influence came with the shoes, worldwide, this is before social media, worldwide people knew who Jordan was. You could go to Paris, you could go wherever. When they was doing the Olympics, everybody, and they was traveling, any country you was seeing people like, oh my God, Michael Jordan. That was who they knew. Like they probably only knew like 2-3 basketball players. Michael Jordan was like the one. So yeah, so that's why I'm like Kanye had that very similar influence worldwide at a certain point in time. So that's why I'm like, you could make an argument for Kanye to be Jordan, but because I would put Kanye after, because like I said, we're just talking rap, we're not talking artistry. So that's why I'm putting him a tier below, which I would say could make the Kobe comparison. And some people could argue that, because it boggles my mind that people kind of skip over Kobe in the GOAT conversation and just say Jordan and LeBron. Kobe should be in that conversation. A lot of people detract his championships with Shaq as saying because Shaq was the best player at that time. It's like you had that dominant force. So it was like, I get it. But if he never won those championships without Paul Gasol, with him being the driver of the bus, with him being the leader, then I would say you have an argument. But obviously Shaq couldn't do it without Kobe and vice versa. And you could say the same thing, like, Shaq did end up going on to win one with D-Wade. And D-Wade was the driver of the bus on that. And I think if Shaq and Kobe hashed out their differences, and Shaq would have stayed, they could have won. They could have won a few more. I would definitely argue that, and Kobe would have been the leader of that team, especially going into Shaq's later years. So it is what it is. But I would definitely say Kobe coming, like that comparison came to me right off the bat because of the fact that like Kanye being a part of Rockefeller when he started before. I know they're not like really seeing eye to eye, whatever, but at the time, same way Kobe kind of had Jordan had a major influence on Kobe's game, and he definitely outwardly spoke about it. But so the comparison, you guys let me know, the longevity, the dominance, they all kind of coincide as far as like people who are part of these GOAT debates. And if you want to say who's the most successful or who's the most as far as street like numbers wise, because numbers are counted differently now because of like streams versus like people who used to actually go and buy physical CDs. It's the same thing, like you say, like the game has changed now with basketball. It's like, you could argue that if the rules were different, Jordan potentially could have had even more championships. Back then, the defense was a lot more prioritized. The game was a lot more physical, slower. They sped the game up, 14-second shot clock when it reset. But before this, the hand checking, they got rid of hand checking. They also like the rules that they changed to protect shooters and all these different things they did to make the game a lot more offensive so that it could be more appealing to the eye. People love to see high scoring games. They want to see the fast pace, the run and gun, which that started actually during the Suns era with Nash and Mac D'Antoni, Coach D'Antoni and Steve Nash. Those Suns with Stoudemire and Sean Marion, those guys were the first iteration of that run and gun style. And there's a short, I forgot how many, 8-second or 14-second offense where they would try to move the ball quickly and get a shot off, so that this way the more they can get more attempts at scoring. So that was something that LeBron played in too. So he played in that era. Like I said, he played through multiple different eras. Drake, same. So that's why I feel like that compare. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, what do you guys think as far as like, if those comparisons are pretty fair? So I said Drake comparison was LeBron. I said Kanye's comparison was Kobe. Because you could definitely make the argument that... sorry, I'm just pulling up my notes here. If there was any point, I didn't want to miss any points. They both had the obsessive... for Kanye and Kendrick. Kanye and Kobe. They both had that obsessiveness with greatness. And I don't know if you guys remember that commercial. Maybe I could pull it up and show you guys really quickly on the...
How much more do you want from me?
More.
How much more successful do you want me to be?
More successful.
How many records can my records break?
More records.
But I'm the best.
But are you a different animal and the same beast?
What the does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
You're welcome.
What the is he talking about?
Replay. But the commercial with Kobe's commercial that Kanye West featured in when he was talking about I'm the best. And he's like, but more. What do we want? We want more. We want more championships. More. That's the only thing. He's like, how can I be the greatness that I'm at? Just do more. So I don't know. They were both had that crazy work ethic with Kobe with film study and his obsession with his footwork and the mentality, the Mamba mentality that he had. Kanye had that production obsession. He was always in the studio, experimenting with different sounds, the 808s and Heartbreaks era, the auto-tune, all that stuff. They both kind of were like perfectionists to an extent. So they both had a lot of that, what's the word I'm looking for, polarizing personality that you either loved or hated them. And Kanye has had a lot of those moments. R.I.P. to the boy Kobe. He had some of those moments, especially in the locker room. He didn't care. He'll tell you what it is. If you're working hard, yo, good shit. If you're not, yo, I need you to step up your game. He only expected as much as what you were supposed to do. So if you were like wherever you set the bar, that he just wanted you to try to exceed that a little bit. So that was what he was only doing, the same thing that he would do for himself. He would always try to exceed and expect more for himself. So we got the Kanye Kobe comparison, the Jordan Jay-Z comparison. So one I didn't want to leave out, and when I was having these conversations, it didn't come up, which was crazy to me because at a certain point in time, this dude was one of my favorite rappers, and that's Lil Wayne. So I'm like, where does Lil Wayne fit in this equation? Because Lil Wayne changed the game, and at a point in time, he was on a run that was crazy with his mixtapes run leading up to the Carter 3. He had all those drought albums, drought mixed between Carter 2, Carter 3 was like legendary hip hop run. He was running the game, and if you had a Lil Wayne feature, your song was gonna be lit. Anything this guy was, it was fire. But yeah, so I had to come up with and it was tough to find a comparison directly for him. So I got two. Because both of these players changed the game in two different eras, and that's Allen Iverson and Steph Curry. So everybody remembers how Allen Iverson changed the game with the crossover, and he even did it to Jordan. So it changed the game, how everybody was dressed and all this stuff, like how people would play and everything. So that was one. Sorry, we're good. That's one comparison, but I felt like that wasn't enough, especially because I feel like I had to also give him a comparison of someone who won trophies, who won championships. Even though my boy AI was one of the greatest, he never won a chip, so that does play a part. And so I had to also give him Steph Curry, who's won a few chips and who also changed the game, and who is part of the reason why I don't consider it, for me, LeBron to be the GOAT, because he challenged LeBron throughout a good portion of his era. You could almost argue that they shared it at one point in time, because the run that the Warriors were on was fueled by Steph Curry and the shooting, and that was obviously, you got two chips without KD. So you could even argue that he's better than LeBron, because LeBron did beat him that one year, but come on now. Steph is three. Steph got three of them. Three of them on LeBron. Four, sorry. Yeah, three. Because one of them was... Yeah, three. Because the last one was to the Celtics, right? 2015, they beat Cavs. 2016, Cavs, yeah. 2017 and 2018 were Warriors won against the Cavs. Yeah. Okay, so it is what it is. So I got that right. Guys, let me just, I want to wrap that up. So that's the honorable mention. I was like, I definitely cannot leave out Lil Wayne. He's one of the ones. He's also in that GOAT conversation if we're talking rappers. Let me know what you guys think. And the same thing with the basketball. Steph Curry should be in that conversation. He could be in the conversation. By the time it's all said and done, I know a lot of people don't have him top 5, maybe top 10. A lot of people have him in their top 10. He should be in your top 10. But to me, he's top 5. I would have him right after these three that I just mentioned. But I definitely love to hear what you guys think. Just going to wrap this one up, guys. Gabe D Champ here on Twitch over here. We normally chat about anime, gaming. We also get into the sports and entertainment talk, so definitely check us out over on Twitch. The link is in the description. And yeah, it's your boy Gabe the Champ, aka Mr. Longchamp. Peace.